we've got some special guests. I've got Sophia is with the Global MBA team, and we've also got Neta. So I'll just ask them to quickly introduce themselves as well, starting with you, Neta.
Hi, I know two of you. So I'm Neta. I'm the Student Admin Manager from Macquarie Business School, but I'm also a Global MBA student. So today I was hoping to share some of my insights as a student with you guys. And obviously I can also answer questions about admissions in my other hat, but today I'm wearing student hat, okay?
We're really quite lucky to have Neta with us. Thank you, Neta. And Sophia.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia. I look after the student recruitment and the marketing for Global MBA.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. So I'm Lan, I'm the course director for the Global MBA, and I'm going to quickly just give you a walkthrough in terms of the landscape. This next slide that we're going to look at, pre-COVID, we heard a lot about the future of work and the future of learning. Come COVID, and it's a blunt instrument to force this behavioural change. So that whole thing about digital transformation that most organisations and universities were undergoing pre-COVID has been brought to the forefront in no uncertain terms. And so the whole concept of work and the whole concept of how we learn are so intertwined. Working will forever be changed. The definition of how we work, will we go back to the office, if indeed there is going to be an office, because if we've been able to experiment with the utility of working remotely without any loss of productivity or utility, then therefore the question will have to be asked as to why that we lay so much capital out for office premises when we can get the same utility or yield through the workforce working remotely. Obviously, we're humans, and so we crave social interactions, and so maybe going to the office one day a week for those team building or relationship building. I don't know what that looks like, but what I do know for certain is that it's not going to be the same. So the whole discussion about, when it gets back to normal, I can tell you right now that it is going to be not the old normal, but a new normal. And so the whole discussion about resilience is almost a moot point, because it's not about resilience, because resilience by definition is going back to the same state before the intervention, A, B, A. This is not about that. This is A, B, A plus. This is a growth mindset here that we're looking. We should take that opportunity to seize the day and grow in new ways. So this whole slide here talks about a number of different trends that we had observed pre-COVID. And as I said, COVID is a blunt instrument that has forced this change upon us now. I mentioned this in a lot of conversations that I have in terms of this is a great opportunity for Macquarie University, for Macquarie Business School in particular, as we're currently the leaders, the global leaders of what an online MBA looks like. So we've recently been ranked #1 in Australia, #6 globally, according to CEO magazine, and that is a European-based ranking MBA organisation. So this is pretty unprecedented, by the way. We're less than a year old. The program, the Global MBA, went live in May 2019, last year. And so this year we'll be looking for our first graduating cohort. So to land in the #1 in Australia, #6 in the world spot is pretty unprecedented for a program that is so new. The premise of our ranking, our outstanding ranking, was basically because of the degree of innovation that we present in this degree. So the degree in innovation in relation to the curriculum, the platform of delivery, thank you, Sophia, and then the final one is in terms of the accessibility and price. For our staff members, it's fantastic to see that the university is supporting staff development, professional development, and giving staff the opportunity to undertake a transformative degree like the Global MBA with a further 10% staff scholarship. So we'll cover that in a minute. But this slide here really just entertains the curriculum. I'm wondering at this point, Matt, Nicola, or Mel, would you like me to delve a lot more deeper into the curriculum, or are you happy to have a look at the website? I'd like you to tell me how much or how little you'd like me to cover on this slide.
I'm reasonably okay myself. I think I'm quite across the curriculum, but happy, if other people want you to delve in, then that's also fine.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking at the website too, so I'm pretty happy with what I've been reading. Yep.
Okay.
I'm fine to look at the website too.
Excellent.
What's actually in the course.
Okay, terrific. So then we go to our next slide about I think it's the mechanics of the learning experience. And this is where I really want Neta to share her experience as a staff member, as a professional leading a fairly significant team within the business school, and also how she manages to study the Global MBA. So over to you, Neta.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So first of all, I'll let you know that I hadn't studied for 20 years when I started the Global MBA. And one of the biggest things is, do I really want to, or can I? And the thing is, we all can. So I want to assure anybody who's thinking about, is this a journey I want to go down now that I'm, X, Y, Z in this way? Absolutely, we can, because what I learned in the units I've done, I've actually been able to apply it in my job. And when I did my master's, after I finished, I didn't apply a lot of it in my job. But in the short time that I've done units here, one of them I did was leading change. And I've actually been able to use that academic content and apply it in the workplace. So it's brilliant. I mean, I'm so happy every time I can pick up stuff that I've just learned and use it. So with learning, it was a transition. Some of this information here is quite clear. It is a 6-week program, 6-week term, sorry, and 6-week program would be great, wouldn't it? 6-week term, and I did mention is for me to succeed, which I have got credits and above in every one of my units. Not that it matters. What matters is what you learn, is being prepared, being directed, learning in advance. So you know how it says week 0, enroll. Don't wait till week 0, enroll beforehand, because once you enroll, it will go into the Coursera platform. It takes a day to sync, and then you get all the material for the 6 weeks. And it tells you week by week what you need to do. And to succeed, you need to do pre-reading, listen to all the videos, read the articles they have put online for you to read, because it operates very much as a flipped classroom. We have 1-hour webinars every week. And when you turn up at the webinar, you should be ready for conversations. So the lecturer or facilitator or mentor, most of the time I call them, helps drive conversations about current topics, about what you've learned in the module. Look at your experience, and what we learned a lot was to leverage off each other, our networking on our experience, our jobs, our life experience as well, and then learning from each other in that way. So it's a fairly different way of learning for what we call, what we're used to for normal education, or what we think we'd go to university for. It's completely online, so it's about being prepared. It's a very short term, so before you know it, your first assignment's due, and it's normally 40 to 50%. So I used to put in time every week before my class. The classes are 1 hour, so it was early in the morning or late in the evening, and because we work, it's there to accommodate work hours as well. And because we're all across the globe, we can accommodate different time zones, which was great. And so we could contribute a lot because we learned before, we did all our work before class. I think that's just a real important point I have to emphasize, is you have to put time aside each day, each week at least. I had weekends, and weekends was my time to do my assignment, do my reading, to make sure I was ready for my class. I thought, instead of me going on, these comments are very, it shows it very clearly, but if you had questions, I could maybe share, how I handled those situations or things like that with you. If you had any questions, Matt, Nicole, or Mel?
I don't at this stage, no.
Great.
All good.
Good. So it is pretty much, I would say as a student, I would just say that, like with every unit, what you put is what you get out of it. The great thing about the Coursera online platform is that there are so many more tools there to help you. I could learn so much more because of the Coursera tools. Like how many videos you watch is up to you. but it's all there for you. Plus, you can link into Slack, which is a informal platform that students use, but it's linked within Coursera. And that's where we had our chats, our conversations, our dialogues. We, had group work, so we collaborated in those platforms before we used Coursera. So all those tools there for you. And the third thing is Coursera has great links to Macquarie University platform as well. So all the learning skills, plagiarism, the library, it's all Macquarie University. And I was able to access all of that in my time, in my space, to do my studies and learn and research as well. It's basically not too hard as long as you commit to it.
That's right. Great nuggets of insight there. Any comments?
Can I just ask one question, if that's okay? So when you say it's 10 to 12 hours per week, is that on top of the group work and on top of the online and on top of the assessments, or does it?
No, it averages out. For me, it averages out to about 10 to 12 hours per week for the unit. So, if you are, doing your research on your assignment and putting bits and pieces together to start off with, you're not going to spend 20 hours in the week 3 to do your assignment. So 10 to 12 is per week, including your 1 hour webinar. That was how it worked for me, including your 1 hour webinar, including your interaction, including your reading, including your assigned work. In the unit guide, it was very, very helpful because it actually told us how much time we're expected to spend on the assignment for the assignment. So when I looked at it and it said 20 hours, I started in week 1. So it's 10 to 12 hours per unit for everything you do for that unit. I did not mention this, but I did 1 unit a term. That's how I balanced it. There are students who do 2, 3, even 4. That's based on your own circumstance. For me, 1 worked, and some people have done 4. I give kudos to them.
And how long are the terms?
6 weeks.
Oh, okay. And then is there a break in between each term, or does the next
there's 1 to 2 weeks between each term.
Okay.
So because 6 weeks are 36 and there's 52 weeks in a year, so the rest of them are breaks.
That's right. Sometimes there is a 3-week break in between a term, just to give you a bit of a break. In terms of the offerings, we have about 6 to 8 different units on offer each term. So the website again has a list of the timetable offerings. Any other comments on this for Neta? Well, just a couple of things that I'd like to emphasize. I think it really is important to stress the rapid term. 6 weeks is very rapid. It's intense learning experience. And so week 1, the expectation, we don't have the luxury of some sort of softly approach in terms of onboarding and orientation and hello, etc., as you would normally expect in, say, a 13-week semester. Here, week 1, we hit the ground running. And so Neta's advice in terms of getting in early and accelerating your journey is really good advice. I strongly advise our students to take that upon themselves. That it is a flipped model that we encourage here and where we deploy here, so that you are expected to turn up into on the webinars, the live classes, prepared. That enriches your learning experience anyway, so from a personal and professional perspective. Each week, each term, each unit has 2 assessments, typically in week 3 and week 6. There are some units that have 3 assessments. At this stage, we've just made a change, so Engage the Board, that has got 3 assessment pieces. So I encourage you to be communicated all that information within your unit outline, so everything is known up front. Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to add there that the live classes aren't mandatory. However, they are recommended and they are recorded. So if you do miss a class 1 week, then you can always go back and watch a recording of it.
Yeah, and the reason why we can't mandate them is because, we have a global cohort, and sometimes for some people it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so it's near impossible to get to. But we do know that students pick up the recordings. Where it does become mandatory will be in the capstone, in the problem solving. So the live sessions will be mandatory for that. And that's for obvious reasons, seeing as though we are collaborating and working with a live industry client for that particular assessment. Okay, let's move on. This is now, I think it was Mel or Nicola who was interested in the pathway options. So with the Global MBA, there are two ways that you can get in. One is the direct admission, that is a direct entry, and it's exactly the same criteria as what it is for our face-to-face MBA, and that is an undergraduate. If you're an international student, of which we're not here, but Matt, if you're advising other students, IELTS of 7.6 and a minimum of 3 years supervisory or professional experience. And here's an interesting stat for you to know. I think at least 60% of our students do not meet the direct entry criteria. This is not unique to the Global MBA, by the way. In my experience, I've been an MBA director for 8 or almost 9 years now at different business schools. And even for standard face-to-face, what we call an articulated program. And so that consists of a graduate certificate, grad dip, and then a master's. 60% typically of students come through the graduate certificate entry pathway. And so with the Global MBA, we don't have an articulated program. We offer a set program, so it's 24 units in terms of the curriculum. But if you do not meet one of those direct entry criteria, you can come through what we call the performance track pathway. So here, what the expectation is that you can enroll in any 4 units and complete and achieve 65% on average across those 4 units to then be converted into the degree. So that's the performance track entry. You do not need to meet any of those direct entry requirements other than the work experience at the point of conversion. Nicola or Mel, who was it that asked particularly about the performance track?
It was me. Oh, sorry, was it you, Nicola, as well?
That's cool. So tell me, did you want me to explain further, or are there any other specific questions?
No, that's fine. That makes sense to me what you're saying. So that's good to know. Yep.
Okay.
And just to confirm, sorry, just a quick question. It is, as you said, it's similar to a grad cert kind of entry pathway, but there's no exit point or award for grad cert, is there?
There is actually, Matt. So yeah, it's an exit point. So, but you'd have to complete, 8 units, 2 from each of the 5 specializations to exit with a graduate certificate in business, global business administration. Yes.
Okay.
And Matt, just so that you know, it's not something we put in the handbook.
Yeah,
So
I hadn't been before.
Yeah, because we actually we have more people converting from performance track to MBA, the Global MBA, rather than people exiting. Absolutely. I think exiting is really for people who, for whatever reasons, can't continue and want something to walk away with.
100%.
That's what was done. So it's not in the course finder.
I agree, but it is I think a bit of a selling point for students to know that if for whatever reason they can, their time can be still rewarded for something. But yeah, understand. Yeah.
Okay, so we might move on to give you a view of your fellow cohort. So we're proud to say that we've got about 216 students since we launched the program. We're expecting exponential growth from here on in. We've just released our intake. So prior to this announcement, we've had 2 intakes, and now we're going to have 6 commencing from term 4. So we have six terms a year, and each of those will be intake terms and commencing from term 4. So that's a fantastic, it just caters for that increase in demand from people looking for upskilling options with the Global MBA. So that's great. So you can see 34 countries are represented in terms of award and non-award students there. So it's almost like a 55%, 50-50 split between the two. Interesting fast fact for you, performance track students on average perform stronger than our degree students academically. I think I've got a few theories on that. One of the theories is that our performance track students, you can see that they're experienced professional. Have a look at the average age is 37, the average length of experience is 13 years. So that signals immediately the level of professionalism and seniority in terms of experience of our students. But we know academically that our performance track students are hungrier, and so because they've got that to meet that minimum threshold of 65%. So they're performing much better actually than our degree students. So it's a great thing to have. I think someone just joined us as well. Chris, welcome, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Sorry, I'm late. I was in another meeting.
That's fine. We've recorded this session so you can pick up the front end from this point in time.
Okay.
I was just overviewing the cohort. Chris, jump in anytime if you've got any particular questions, okay? Please don't be shy in asking questions.
Thanks, Lane. Cheers.
No problems. Let's just move on to this next slide here. And I was just joking with the team earlier that this kind of looks like a COVID update slide. It's not that, obviously. It's where our students are from. So I guess what this signals is the truly international cohort that we have with the Global MBA. This is an important point, particularly as we start to compete in many more ranking bodies. So it looks at the quality of our students, always a quality of it's everything we do is about our students. So the quality of our students in terms of their international representation. So we are not reliant on one single economy. So we're truly diversified in this nature. So you can see that we're pretty proud that with that. Interestingly enough, our collaboration with Coursera being a US-owned platform, has given us penetration into that market, the North American market, that we otherwise would not have had. As we all know, being Macquarie staff members, that our brand equity in the markets, the US and particularly the European market, is not as strong as it is in, say, the Southeast Asian markets. Matt could probably comment more about the perceived brand equity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful for what it does with us, and the halo effect of the Global MBA onto all other Macquarie programs has been absolutely wonderful for us.
Yeah, so we're seeing this increase attraction, inquiries, and then subsequent enrolments from North America, and that's a huge market for us. My expectation is that this will grow exponentially from this point forward. We're already seeing a huge spike and surge in the number of inquiries coming from prospective students, given that the implications from the working from remote world that we live in has given more people the opportunity and increase the capacity for people to consider upskilling themselves, and that is traditionally seen through an MBA. So this is the nature of our global. It is really important, this point, and I'll land on this because the Australian sector, the higher ed sector, as we all know, is experiencing a great deal of pain at this moment, given our over-reliance perhaps on the China economy, and that the travel bans are not going to be lifted anytime soon, right? So this hit on our revenue stream is quite significant. For the Global MBA, and for Macquarie Business School and the university at large, again, I'll emphasize this point, we are in such a good place in terms of leading the way in what this could look like. So we do have a solution for quality online learning through the Global MBA model, and it's great timing for this. Okay.
Can I just add that we actually, when I was studying, I had classmates like from Vietnam and Singapore and the US, and despite time differences, we did make it work. And it was also really good because we were like truly learning from, when you're doing a management leadership program, learning from the other cultures was really helpful as well. So the collaboration, having this global network of people with the different backgrounds is a really good tool for us as learners.
It's an incredibly important point because that network expectation, and this is mainly associated with an MBA, is that you'll gain from that peer-to-peer interaction and that instant global network through your peers as much as you would through our industry collaborations and our partners that we have with the industry. So we have a cluster of entrepreneurs, and they're mainly within the medtech startup within Canada. So there's a cluster. When I say cluster, 11 students who are all startup founders of various medtech or biosecurity in Canada. So it's just really interesting that we see a different wave of professions coming through as well. So we've got really good representation for the not-for-profit sector, as well as organisations increasingly looking at sustainability as a key pillar for success. So that's represented in our cohort. The final thing that I wanted to land on this slide here is the recognition from the government. So Austrade, we partner with Austrade quite strongly in this, and the CEO of Austrade, her name is Dr. Stephanie Fay, specifically noted the global nature of the program in terms of our cohort. When Neta said that she learns a lot from her peers at Vietnam and other different countries, that is such a true comment, and one of the capabilities that we're trying to develop with our students through the curriculum is the cultural intelligence. So global citizenship is a key characteristic right now as the world becomes a lot more global in our interactions. So thanks for that comment. And let's move on to this final next two slides. And this is really about the terms and conditions or the eligibility for staff members to access this 10% staff scholarship. So these are the requirements here that it's open for both academics and professional staff who are on continuing or fixed term contracts with at least 2 years or more of service. For fixed term staff, importantly, they need to have at least 12 months remaining on their current employment. That is an HR requirement rather than anything else that we've stipulated. But suffice to say that we're really happy that the university is supporting staff development at this time. Are there any questions in relation to the eligibility requirements? No? Okay, I think that was the last slide. Was that the last slide, Sophia, or was there one more slide? I think that was the last slide?
Yeah, that was all.
Righto. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and circle back to our staff members joining us. So Chris, you come in at the sort of tail end. So were there any other specific areas that you were after?
Look, I think I'll just chase up the rest of the presentation once it's available, and then if I've got any other questions, I can just follow up with you from there.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's great. Just feel free to reach out to Sophia or myself. So happy to take on any other questions. What about Mel, Matt, or Nicola?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just got to make a decision and bite the bullet at some stage.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Go for it.
Go for it.
It was a hard decision for me to make, but you know what? A year later, I'm still in the program. So, and it's definitely worth the time and commitment.
Yeah, I have no doubt. For me, it's just trying to, just that work-life balance.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, but that's why I've done one unit, because that gives me balance. That's why I said kudos for people who try to do 4. So if you do 1 unit, you get a taste of it. And once you've done 2 units, you get the rhythm of it. And by the 3rd time, you're an expert.
And the unit's quite manageable, I think, a single unit.
Okay, it is quite manageable. And my final bit of advice to you is no time is a good time. Yeah. And the time will still pass. So you may as well have that time pass with a degree under your belt.
Very true, yes.
Hey guys, look, if you've got any other questions, just don't hesitate to give us a call. We're all a big family here. You know where we live, etc. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar, and keep safe and well.
Yeah, great to see you, Lang. You too, Neta.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll be back in Sydney soon, and see you in Sydney.
Yeah, righto. Okay, thanks for joining. Bye for now.
Guys.
Bye.
Cheers.